we were talking right after City Council met last night, and they passed first reading of the city's budget, $87.4 million. No tax increases, right?
No tax increases.
What were some of the highlights for people who might have missed that?
All our revenue sources are doing well. We continue to benefit from being in this part of the country with people moving not only to the state of South Carolina, but upstate South Carolina in particular, Anderson. And so the revenue from, for example, hospitality, the hospitality fee is done very well. It's been in existence now for over a couple decades. And it started out maybe at $50,000, and this year it will be probably conservatively approaching $5 million.
Yeah, and that sort of two of the things y'all talked about at the council discussed last night. One was obviously the Lindley Park project. That wouldn't be possible without hospitality tax, right?
No, it wouldn't be. Part of that project is just the infrastructure that we needed to fix the stormwater, and so we used some of the federal ARPA money that came down, and were lucky enough, like a lot of communities, are using some of that money to have the infrastructure. But the other part of that money is hospitality money. And so we have a good fund balance in that, so we're able to pay projects, sometimes smaller part projects, in cash because of the hospitality. So, but very excited about Lindley Park. If you hadn't been by Lindley Park in the last several months, it's under construction, doing a lot of grading, pushing dirt and putting in pipes to handle stormwater. It'll connect nicely with the upper part of Lindley Park, and this one, for those that remember, we moved 2 ball fields. We're able to do that because of our expansion at the rec center with 2 additional ball fields and surfaces there. So that allows us to take this green space. I would say, Greg, too, when they started doing this project, to me visually it just got bigger, and it's going to be a very nice spot.
And if you've seen what they're doing, you forget how big that park is. The other thing, though, is I thought I was old until somebody started talking about Whitner Creek. I had never heard of Whitner Creek. And
Yep.
Whose idea was it to restore Whitner Creek to its natural?
Well, obviously it was. We've been talking about it for years.
I don't remember there ever being a Whitner Creek.
Yeah.
That was before our time, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
And so, I mean, the creek itself actually starts on, it flows through the upper part of Lindley, and you don't really see it unless it's a stormwater issue. But just restoring it to its natural state. Many years ago, the concrete culverts were put in to control flooding, but a lot of communities have gone back to taking that concrete out and just restoring it to its natural state, but also using just stones and rocks and really vegetation to make it more natural, but also to contain the stormwater. So I think people will really enjoy it. So it'll be a passive creek, and it'll be something that water soothes, and so it'll be a very nice feature to that park.
And one of the other things council at least gave the go-ahead to do the pre-construction engineering on was an upfit for Caters Lake.
For Caters Lake, yeah.
Y'all been looking at that a long time, right?
We have. It's probably been on the end of our recreation master plan. And so what we did last night was to approve a contract with the company that's actually doing Lindley Park to start fine-tuning how it looks conceptually. We've seen some rough drafts about some of the things but now again another stormwater project. Lindley, I want to say, Greg, is right at 100 years old, and it needs a facelift.
And the other thing, a couple of the other things from the budget for the people who missed it, raises for city employees. That was part of this budget, right?
Yes, yes. And you know, our employees, our teammates are our most valuable asset, and they're public servants, and we've got to make sure that we have them in a place that's competitive in the marketplace, from police to fire to public works. Those folks that are outward facing to our community, that give the public safety aspect of that business. And so it's a very competitive business. When you start talking about police and fire, they're the backbone of any community of any size in this country.
And speaking of fire, you're adding 6 firefighters. I think they asked for 8, maybe.
Yes, I mean,
and it's because of the growth, right?
Yeah, it's because of the growth. We publicly said that we have 3 stations. We need a 4th station, and probably with the growth of our community, we probably need to start talking about, you know, within the end of this decade, a 5th station.
What are some of the other challenges that y'all face putting this budget together?
Every department, all of our department heads, they have needs, from human resources to physical machinery. We ordered and you start talking about supply chains. I mean, we've ordered a fire truck. And it takes 50 months.
So it's
to get
still
a fire
that far
truck.
behind on the
Yeah,
chains.
yeah. And so we were just talking about that. I mean, you order a fire truck and you don't get it for 50 months. And so if you need to start thinking about ordering the next fire truck, because, you know, other communities, you look at places like Charlotte, who, you know, and they've got you know, so many fire stations in Mecklenburg County and Charlotte or New York. And so now you're competing in that infrastructure equipment game of getting in line, because everybody is seeing, the communities that are seeing growth have to provide services. And so, and we'll see that too.
One of the things I think people are most excited about that's already in the budget is the paving of Main Street, and they said they're going to put in new water and sewer when they do it. And they said the timing is essential. Do you know what the timetable maybe look like for that?
You know, I think we are engaged with the engineering firm to look at just the infrastructure part of it. And we, you know, anytime you do a project like this, you want to make sure that the things that are underneath the pavement, you fix those things first, because you don't want to pave and have a cut just because you missed a fiber octave, or, you know, you didn't get ahead of somebody else, a utility, or whether it's AT&T or Charter or so. So we've got to be careful there, but we're committed to it. Hopefully we can get everything that we need to do by the end of the year, so we can start the paving of Main Street. And I think we're from River Street to North Main Commons, because we did North Main Commons when we did that with the brewery, the bistro, European bistro. So, you know, we are excited about that.
A lot of parking area, a lot of stuff to pave in there. It's going to be really nice though for downtown.
Yeah, it will be
when that gets done. I know you've mentioned several times the importance of green spaces in the city, and I know you've been an advocate for that. Why is that such a priority for you?
Well, it's there are 271 cities in the state of South Carolina, and what cities do is they provide the quality of life features that people who are moving here require. Our 46 counties in this state do a great job of recruiting the BMWs and the Boeings and the Michelin Scout, you know, but when people move into this community, they expect one of the attractive things is your cities. And so if we can create an atmosphere where we have green spaces, we have bike and pedestrian trails that connect, that's a very important driver to our overall community here in Anderson County. So we're the largest city in the middle of the county. Our metro area is 115,000, and so we have to create those spaces for people to have a good quality of life.
Is the connection of the trails in part of the master plan? I mean, eventually it's going to get done. I mean, it's expensive, I know.
It is very expensive. I think we've got a good framework for those trails. We applied for a federal grant, a multi-million-dollar federal grant last year. Did not get it. We've applied again, and so, you know, cross our fingers. It's a very competitive process, and so I think even this go around where we were in, Spartanburg got a grant, so maybe it's our time. You know, and if it's not, you know, we can still do, we still have plans to, you'll now be able to connect from the upper part of Lindley Park all the way to the rec center. And probably the next logical step there is from the rec center for a trail to come downtown. Maybe in that Chemtech area. And so we're still committed to it. It's very expensive, but having said that, I think we're doing things to our budget. As you mentioned, it's almost $90 million, and so, but that part of it's growing. So when you put in things that you receive more property tax from, because of that growth, you're able to distribute that money.
Last time we met, the Michelin Cities Tour visited Anderson. How will the city benefit from that event going forward?
Well, I think it proved that we could host an event of 200 people. And so we have a good network of people who were involved in that. We put on a big production. We couldn't do it by ourselves. We used Anderson County, Tri-County Tech, Clemson University, City County government, and the Visitor Center. You know, we were able to showcase our city, the amenities that we have, our lake. I mean, our friends from across the world raved about our southern hospitality. We had about 50 to 70 volunteers that just knocked it out of the park. Local people who just were there at every point of contact with our visitors if they needed help going to Walmart, or if they needed directions, or, you know, we got people to and from the airport seamlessly. The transportation was great. And so I think it got us into the small regional markets where we have a downtown hotel, we have an event center across the street from that hotel, and we can host those events now.
The soiree, huge crowds, had the signature concert for the first time, brought record crowds downtown. Think we'll have signature concerts from soirees going forward because of that?
Well, anytime the bar is set, you know, you have to, you know, you can't go below the bar. And so the bar's been set very high.
Never seen that many people downtown.
I didn't. Josh Turner was great. And we are very fortunate to be able to have that event. It was great weather, and you couldn't ask for any more. So I'm looking forward to next year. Block party every Thursday night. Movies in Carolina Wren Park. We had a play in North Main Commons, and so, you know, there'll be another feature I think later on in the summer. And so and we're in the middle of June, and so before you know it, it's going toward the fall events. We are having a new ice skating feature, real ice this year, and holiday ice. And so
I think that will be well received.
yeah, the synthetic ice served us well. It got us started, but I'm really excited to go to real ice this winter in the Christmas season. I think that'll add something to everything too.
Any other downtown development news? I know you were talking about Chemtex. Where are we at on the Chemtex program?
They had a gap in financing, with COVID, everything went up and so forth. But we understand that they're very close again. So that's a big thing. We have Murray Franklin is under contract right now with a company that receives state tax credits, and so I think that's a big project, 80 apartments, a $50 million project that is just an extension of downtown. And so my belief is that if we get those two projects, that proves again that the market can absorb in that space. And so I'm excited to see how those two projects on Murray Avenue connect, and so I'm excited about that too.
Is demand for downtown housing still pretty high?
Still pretty high. Occupancy rate is still very high. As we go along, what we found is I think more and more developers outside of our community, outside of our state, are looking at Anderson. We're very fortunate to have people, local people, the Steve Kays and the John Glenns and Jeff Waters and Ron Houseschools that saw an opportunity to help our downtown. And so now we prove that we have the infrastructure in place for that. And so people outside of our community are looking for good investments too.
How does the city recruit businesses for downtown? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
You know what? Nowadays, Greg, I think the way you look at what I've discovered, people pick you, based on demographics, retail sales. I can remember talking to the owner of Culver's when they are looking at building 20 in South Carolina, 20 more in North Carolina, Florida. And so more so that size of development, the Trader Joe's and Costco's, they just look at pings on cell phones. They look at traffic. And so where we have the ability is to try to connect people such as Scout's Donut. You have one in Greenville, regional. We're looking for people who have businesses in Greenville, Asheville, and looking for a second location, a third location. That's where our economic development partners kind of play in that space.
How's the hotel doing downtown?
Great. Occupancy rate is very good. They are looking forward to another. I think Clemson has 7 home football games, and then on top of that, we have Anderson University. We'll be filling those off Clemson weekends too, or even in combination of that. I often like to go through the Church Street parking lot and drive. My family gets tired of me driving through the parking garage because out of state tags. So we're seeing people who are out of state, they're visiting, and they're decided to come downtown and stay at the hotel.
You and I were talking about before, the May storms did some serious damage downtown. We had 70-mile-per-hour winds come through downtown Anderson. Some businesses, some of Joe's, Mr. Rivers still closed, roof damage. Any other buildings damaged? I know the structures across from City Hall
Structure across the street.
They might have taken their final blow from that storm.
It was. And obviously we had a lot of residential damage. Usually when you have a storm, there's a section of the city that's damaged, but we had, as you know, a wide area damage, lost a lot of trees over the course of it, and so there are a lot of people that have been displaced, and so it'll, like any community, we were lucky nobody got hurt. I'm pleased, on knock on wood on that, but we had a great response from the city of Anderson County, got some help from the city of Greenville in debris removal, and so all of that was good. So, but you know, I tell people often we live in a part of the country where we don't have the weight of ice and snow on us, but we do have summertime weather. And so I would encourage everybody to have a plan, have you know, a solid plan on how you survive without electricity, water, food, and so I mean I think that will become more and more important for yeah, our entire community as we go forward. The 2020 census had us right under 30,000, 29,000, and a few, but even that census missed the growth that we had on Salem Church Road. I'm surprised how far some of the projects, infrastructure-wise, grading-wise, are going. Sure, you can look at building permits when they pull building permits, but for example, the projects that's going on 29 North and going toward the jockey lot. I mean, I was out there 3 weeks ago. Grading's done, and so my guess would be total build out maybe 7,000 units. That's just single family townhomes. So I think the 2030 census will show a very big spike in population for Anderson, and I would not be surprised. This is just me guessing that it would be over 30,000 people within the city of Anderson. Still think that the view from the rooftop up on the roof is catching a sunset up there is a great thing. You see how beautiful our community is. Just the continued partnerships that the city continues to have with you know, we've got to have close relationships with our county government, our university. Very proud of our university, our city school district. Those legacy partners have to be in tune with each other to make sure that we know what each other's plans are, because growth's happening. People are moving here, and I often tell people the people that live here aren't moving. And so we've got to accommodate new people as they come in. So I think housing, infrastructure, roads. Last thing I would say, November election will be an important election in regards to infrastructure and the penny sales tax. And so, which I know plans are on the way in that regards to, you know, how do we pay for things? How do we fix roads? So I think it's an exciting time to be in our community.
Yeah, without that penny, the roads aren't going to get fixed.
No, they won't. They'll just continue to deteriorate, and the majority of that money will come from people that don't even live here. People who are coming to the Clemson football games and the AU football games and visiting our lakes and vacationing in the area. So I would say that's you know, that's probably as important of item this November than anything else for our community.